Got a 1983 Nissan 720 Z24 4x4 pickup. Took out the oil pan and just wanted to show you guys how to do it. So, you support the front differential, this guy right there, and take out these 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here you have this sway bar connecting tie rods. There's 2 bolts. You can take out this bracket. Bam, bam. Roll that bar out of the way so you can get your pan out. Now, there's a rear cross member for the front differential. It's got 2 large bolts. I believe they're 13/16. One on one side, one on the other. Again, support it with a jack and then lower it down. And once you get it down, you can do what I did, and that's position your jack on the drive shaft so that the front differential will pivot down right there at the knuckle, because you really have to get that thing out of the way. There's so little room to get the oil pan out. So that's the first step. Get your front differential lowered. Second step, hoist up the engine. As you can see, I've got the engine set up on the hoist through the chain around the intake and the exhaust over here. Put some tension on it and removed the 5 bolts from the engine block to the engine mounts. So those mounts on the passenger side are right there. 1, 2, there's 3 on the passenger side. And there are 2 on the driver's side. 1, 2. Once you have your engine on the hoist, you have tension, go ahead and remove those. Just make sure you have your fingers out of the way after you get that last bolt out, because it will drop, anywhere between 3/4 inch to 1 inch. And so from there, jack up the engine a couple inches, pretty much till the valve cover hits the firewall. Right here, there's a seam, and that gave me enough height to get the oil pan out. I opted to drain the cooling system and remove the PCV, remove the top and bottom radiator hoses, so I'm not straining them. Take out the battery, of course, give yourself room to work. And spark plugs. Took out all the spark plugs, laid them over the distributor off to the side over there. Also, I took off the hood just to give myself more room for my hoist, more room to work. Just makes it easier. It's 4 bolts, 10mm. Takes no time. There's the bottom of the block with the oil pan off. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room looking at the size of the oil pan, but definitely enough room with those steps that I went over previously. It'll give you just enough room. So once I got all the oil pan bolts out, I was able to drop the oil pan, but in order to get it completely out, there is the oil pickup tube, and it's got 2 bolts. I think they were 12 millimeter right there. So I kind of had to get in there with the oil pan still in the way, remove those 2 bolts. I just let them fall in the pan, which I'd already drained, and made sense just to let the shit fall in there and collect it all after. So there's 2 bolts for the filler tube, and there's 2 bolts for these support brackets for the filler tube. One of them being right here on this main cap, the other one being on the rear main cap, 12 millimeters. So we also have to reach up and around the pan and take those 2 bolts out, let the bracket and the bolts fall into the pan, and then you can finagle your oil pan out. And I went out the front, that's why I dropped this sway bar. It wasn't too bad once I got all that shit out of the way. Oil pan. It's a big sucker. This is that filler tube, or the oil tube, and those flanges right there, they're the support brackets. So with those 4 12 millimeter bolts that you're gonna let fall into the pan, boom. I do recommend replacing the filler tube pickup gasket right there. Clean that shit out. Clean out your pan. You're good to go.